Hey, Miss Neville Science students. And so we're moving into our next recorded lesson about convection. We want to remember that when we talked about conduction, conduction is direct heat on an object. Remember, this hand represents fire, and this hand represents an object directly being heated by fire. We talked about how there are three ways that heat can move: conduction, and the next method, transfer that heat moves is convection. Our learning objective for this lesson is the student will be able to develop and use a model to explain how heat circulates. So this was conduction. This is convection. Yeah, get those hands moving in a circle. When I even think of the word circle, it looks very similar to the word circulate. That means something moving in a circular motion. So let's get started. Our first question that we need to write down today is, what is convection? What is convection? Convection is the heating of fluids, okay? And we're going to talk about what a fluid is. If you would please pause this video and draw this picture using a red and blue crayon or colored pencil. We want to draw a red arrow going up and a blue arrow going down. Why? Because the law of convection states heat will always rise and cold will always sink. And that's what we see here in our gift. Heat will always rise and cold will always sink. Why? Well, the density of fluids. We want to talk first, though, about what fluids are. When we look at fluids, it's important for us to know that fluids are liquids and gases. Just like you and your cousin are related, you kind of look alike. Maybe you have the same eyes or the same color or curly type of hair. It's important for us to realize that liquids and gases are both related. Yes, they're both fluids. They can both be considered fluids, as we see here in green, for two reasons. One, they take the shape of the container that they're in. And two, their particles are spread apart and moving faster. So when we're thinking about convection, convection is the heating of fluids. In other words, convection is the heating of liquids and gases. So, the law of convection means that colder fluids are going to be heavier. Okay, they'll be heavier, so they'll go down, they'll fall, they'll sink. And warmer fluids are lighter, they're less dense, they're less heavy, and they will rise. And so when we're talking about the law of convection, we're talking about heat rising because it's lighter and cold sinking because it's heavier. I want you to think of me and you on a seesaw. I'm always going to be the one to go down on that seesaw. Why? Because I'm heavier. So the same reason why that I'm at the bottom of that seesaw is the same reason why cold water sinks and hot water rises. Please take some time to not only make sure that you wrote the notes on this page, but also that you write the notes on this page, and you're going to be drawing this picture in your notes. You want to make sure you label, using that blue and red crayon or colored pencil, heat rising and cold sinking. It's also important for you to draw that fire under that pot because we're going to be adding to this photo. Please go ahead and take some time to draw it now. Pause if necessary. It's also important for us to realize that the law of convection is why weather happens. We're going to discuss that more when we start studying weather in November. But when we're talking about weather, why weather occurs, it's all based on the law of convection. That's what we see here in this picture. Heat rises and cold sinks. So our next question we need to write down, can convection and conduction, those are two very different things. Conduction is direct heat on an object. Convection is the circulation of heat. Can convection and conduction happen at the same time on the same object? Yes. The picture you just drew here, we're going to label where conduction is happening and where convection are happening. Convection is that water inside the pot circulating. The cold water is sinking to the bottom of the pot. The hot water that's less heavy is rising. And that pot is directly on a fire. So we see conduction and convection happening at the same time. You're now going to complete 3 closure questions that are teacher graded. So you want to give Miss Neville 2 days to get these questions graded before you do your next attempt, just to make sure we're understanding the law of convection, what convection is. You're going to answer 3 questions today. What does the law of convection say or state? What is a fluid? And why do cold fluids sink and warm fluids rise? I hope you've enjoyed this lesson. I will see everyone in class. Bye.